everybody, and welcome to the Tabletop Inn. Please join me at the tavern table while I do an unboxing of Terraforming Mars. In Terraforming Mars, players are playing as corporations that attempt to turn Mars into a habitable planet for the human race. The game was published by Stronghold Games, and it was designed, I'm gonna super screw this name up, I'm so sorry, Jacob Freixelius. Ooh, I'm gonna put it in the description because that's a weird word. Designed by that guy, really good guy. It is a 1 to 5 player game, and it plays up to 120 minutes. Why don't we go ahead and crack the box open and see what it looks like when you first get it. So a couple things I want to mention before we really dive into the box. Firstly, I have looked into this already. So the story is I bought this game when I was on vacation in Albuquerque, and I brought it home the day that I got back. I busted it open just to see what it was like on the inside. But instead of punching everything out and taking everything out of the wrapping, like the cards and whatnot, I left it all stored as it was when it came because I was actually moving the week after I got back. So I figured it would ride better when it was all stored up in, the shipping fashion rather than having everything out and flopping all over the box. Second caveat, if you notice, or if you're really looking on the box, there are a couple of parts where it does look a little torn up. You can really see it down here, this little line here. Unfortunately, that was my own negligence. I tried to get it home in my luggage from Albuquerque when I flew back, and it didn't ride very well. So just know, the box did not come shipped like this or anything like that. It was banged up because of my own doing. So that being said, let's go ahead and dive in and take a look. Really like the artwork on the front of the box. I guess my only complaint is very heavy on the orange, but I mean, it is Mars, so I mean, what do you expect? There's the sides of the box. Here's another orientation for storage. I don't think I mentioned it was published by Stronghold Games. If I didn't, there it is. So another vertical orientation for storage, really nice. So there's the lid. No artwork on the inside, totally fine. First thing you see when you open the box is the bag of goodies, a lot of bits. It's looking like all these are actually in their own plastic baggies, which is really nice. I'm always a fan whenever publishers, developers go to that extra mile and make sure everything's already in their own individual baggie and not just a pre-sealed bag that you have to break open and then eventually rebag everything. So start off, these feel like plastic cubes, but that's totally fine. There's silver cubes, some clear blue cubes here. There's some clear green, some clear yellow and black, and some clear red. I'm guessing these cubes will have something to do with the players, or things for the players. So there's that. There's a whole baggie of these silver cubes that I've shown. There are 3 white cubes. Not exactly sure what they're for. We've got a whole big baggie of these tiny bronze looking cubes. I really like that they're all like reflective. They're not just, a matte plastic looking thing. They look metal, but I believe they're all plastic. I think there is a version of the game where you can get metal cubes, but I mean, these already look fairly metal to me. They've got that reflectiveness on it. They don't feel cheap at all, so that's really nice. Anyway, again, baggie of those bronze or copper colored cubes, and then a baggie of some fairly bigger size, gold colored cubes. These are probably one of the bigger cubes aside from the 3 white ones that we've seen. Here we've got a deck of cards. Not exactly sure what they're for. We've got a little logo on the back of what looks like a terraformed Mars, or an already terraformed Mars, so that's pretty neat. Terraforming Mars Deck 3 is what it says at the bottom of this card here, so that's interesting. Here we've got Terraforming Mars Deck 2. Looks somewhat similar. There's actually a couple of differences. There's obviously a tree in this one. In this one, there's some trees, but there's also a meteor in the background. The backs are the same. And then I'm assuming this is Deck 1. Yep, Terraforming Mars Deck 1 with a couple of astronauts on it. Very nice. The back is still the same. So 3 decks, that's interesting. I wonder if that goes into like the different rounds, like you play different decks using different rounds. Looks like we've got the rule book here. Good game overview. Not a terribly long rule book, although it looks like there's not a whole lot of picture examples, so for that, it's a little lengthy. This game's not exactly a light game per se. Here, looks like we've got our 5-player boards. Taking a sift through here real quick, seeing if there's any major differences between them. I don't believe there is. So here's your player board here. Looks like we've got money here. Tools or resources? I'm not sure, star. Greenery down here, and then energy. And some kind of thermal energy. Don't know exactly. Don't know a whole lot about the game aside from what I've seen. So there's the player boards. They are a little cheapy feeling. They're pretty thin paper. Almost kind of cards. I don't know if cardstocky is the right word, but I do know you can get some inserts that come with this game that actually come with player boards as well. So I'm probably going to be thinking about picking that up. Got the main board here. We'll set that off to the side for a moment. And then we've got our punch boards here. Our 2 punch boards. Okay, not terrible on the punch board amount. So here we've got a, looks like a little city, a dome city, you know, like you've seen in the Mars. Any kind of movie or game that involves a city on Mars, they're all in domes. We get, I think, money, I believe. A little paw print, a factory, volcano looking thing, radioactive symbol. That symbol that I usually assume is just the boy symbol, but it's probably more. Looks like steam, couple of tool symbols, and then a cross mark. Then we've got some water tiles here that I believe you use to place onto the board to start terraforming Mars. And then you've got these tiles that I think are other city tiles, like tiles you place down to determine what's a city. And then you've got 1 token up here. They're different on the back though. Here's the top row of tiles with their respective symbols on the other side. The little cross mark there. Interesting that they're double-sided. I wonder what that means. Radioactive explosion. The water tiles are the same on the back, it looks like. Yep. But then on the back of the city tiles, there's greenery. Because I know you have to spread greenery in order to terraform Mars. So there's the first sheet. The second sheet looks like it's all cities and then greenery on the back. This one's already falling out. Good. I like it when punch boards are just falling out. So yep, this one is entirely greenery and cities. So not a whole lot going on in the box as far as components goes. There's obviously a lot of like baggies with cubes, but aside from that, not a whole lot going on. Why don't we go ahead and get everything shoved to the side and I'll sprawl out the main board here. All right, so we've got the main player board all sprawled out here. It's basically just a basic map of Mars. Obviously no greenery or anything like that's on there because that's what we're adding with the tiles. Around the edge of the board, we've got what I assume is a victory point tracker. I believe this also tracks income, but I'm not sure off the top of my head. Looks like we've got a cost for some things off to the left side here for standard projects. I'll go ahead and lift it up so we can get a good close-up view of that right there. Don't know what any of that means, but c'est la vie. Got milestones across the bottom here. All different milestones that you can get. Some awards as well that you can get. On the right side, I believe that's the thermometer for showing the heat on Mars, obviously. So we have to get it up to a certain heat in order for humans to be able to live on it. And I believe across the top is oxygen level. So obviously the oxygen needs to be at a certain point once again for us to survive. So there's not a whole lot going on the player board. There's a lot of iconography all over the board though. So, but it looks like it's going to be simple. As far as I can tell, it's actually the same icons that are on the player boards as far as like resources and whatnot. There's also the couple of symbols for the cards as well. So there's a lot of iconography, but I think it's going to be fairly simple to figure out. I know that there's a lot of strategy to the game, but overall I think it's going to be kind of simple to teach, but we will see. There is only one tile in here that's kind of interesting, Noctis City. And there it is. I wonder if that's what that that single tile on the other board is for. So yeah, there's the main board for Terraforming Mars. Why don't I go ahead and get everything started back up? We'll jump over to the other cam and I'll give you my initial thoughts on the game. So that was a very quick unboxing of Terraforming Mars. Really, there's not a whole lot going on in the game component-wise. There's obviously the big baggie of cubes, but I mean, they're cubes. I mean, as cool as they are as far as like different colored and how they're painted, there's not a whole lot going on with them besides the fact that there's just cubes and a lot of them. So there's those. I'm really happy that they all have their own individual baggies. It's really, really nice. It makes just storage a lot easier. But kind of doubling back into storage, one major gripe I have with it is there's just no insert, and I think this game really would have benefited from some kind of insert, mainly because there are 3 decks of cards, and they are not small decks either. They are fairly thick decks of cards. So can you imagine just throwing these into the box and shutting the cover and just slowly putting it onto the shelf and hoping those cards don't fly all over the place, which you know they will, even though you're being very careful. Another thing is there's a bunch of tiles. There's not a bunch of tiles, but there's enough tiles in the game to where I wouldn't want to have to go sorting through them every time I open the box. Because it's one of those things where anything that can minimize the setup of a game, I like. And if the designer thinks about that when they're making some kind of insert, if they make some kind of insert, that's just a really nice thing for me as, you know, someone who's hosting a lot of these game nights. Setup is huge for me. I want to be able to have a really quick setup so I'm not having to worry about it, especially if, you know, friends just come over last minute. I don't want to have to spend like a 10, 15, 20 minutes getting a game set up, especially when I'm probably going to have to teach the game too, or potentially reteach the game. So storage is a huge problem for me, especially when it's so heavy on cards. But really, that's the only gripe I have right now. The only other thing is the player boards kind of cheapy to a degree, just a little cardstock on it. I wouldn't have minded if they were maybe just a little thicker, you know, but it is what it is. I still think it's going to be a really great game. I think me and my friends are going to enjoy it. It's going to be a really nice strategy game. It's going to be heavy on the economics, resource management, things like that. Definitely right up our alley. So that's about all I have for Terraforming Mars. If you like this video, please be sure to leave a like. If there's anything I could have done better besides trip over my own words, please leave a comment and let me know. And that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed your stay at the Tabletop Inn. We'll see you next time. Take care.